Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, peace, mercy, and blessings of Allah be upon you. Our topic today is the role of mosques in Western communities. When we walk through the neighborhoods of London, Paris, Berlin, or Toronto today, we encounter architectural symbols that would have been rare just a generation ago. The elegant minarets and dome structures of mosques rising alongside centuries-old churches and modern civic buildings. These structures represent far more than places of worship. They stand as testament to one of the most significant demographic and cultural transformations of our time. Picture this: it's 1850, and a group of Bosnian Muslims in Chicago gathers for prayer in a rented loft. No minarets, no domes, just whispered Arabic echoing off wooden beams. This was the reality for early Western Muslims. But their story begins even earlier. Centuries before skyscrapers, Muslim Spain's Great Mosque of Córdoba stood as Europe's intellectual heartbeat, where Jewish, Christian, and Muslim scholars debated under the same arches. And in America, enslaved West Africans like Bilali Muhammad held on to their faith, scribbling Quranic verses on scraps of paper. These weren't just buildings, they were acts of resilience. But how did these humble beginnings evolve into the mosques we know today? Let's step inside their walls. The mosque is a religious center. Core functions. The presence of mosques in Western communities reflects the reality of our increasingly interconnected world, where migration, globalization, and cultural exchange have reshaped the religious landscape of traditionally Christian-majority societies. Today, an estimated 44 million Muslims call Europe and North America home, bringing with them not only their faith but also their diverse cultural traditions, languages, and ways of life. 5 times a day, in cities from Toronto to Toulouse, something remarkable happens. Offices pause. Streets quiet. Muslims turn toward Mecca, not as isolated individuals, but as a community. The mosque makes this possible. But it's far more than a prayer space. Think of it as a spiritual university. Children recite Quran in morning classes, couples seek marriage counseling from imams, and converts take their shahada under stained glass windows. The Friday Sermon. It's not just religious guidance, it's where imams address everything from mental health to climate change, proving faith isn't detached from daily life. And when the prayers end? That's when the mosque's second role comes alive. The mosque is a social hub, yet the story of mosques in Western communities is complex and multifaceted. These institutions serve as spiritual centers for daily prayers and Friday congregational worship, but their role extends far beyond the religious sphere. They function as community hubs, educational centers, social service providers, and cultural preservation sites. They offer language classes for immigrant children, provide food assistance to families in need, host interfaith dialogues, and serve as gathering places for celebrations and mourning alike. London, 2017. A high-rise tower bursts into flames. Amid the chaos, a local mosque opens its doors, not just to Muslims, but to all survivors. Volunteers pass out blankets. Doctors treat burns. This is the mosque as community anchor. Across the West, they're serving free meals during lockdowns, hosting blood drives, even running homeless shelters. In Germany, the Mercy Table project feeds 1,200 people weekly, no questions asked. These aren't exceptions, they're the rule. Because in Islam, charity isn't optional, it's the fifth pillar of faith, yet despite this, mosques often face suspicion. Why? The answer lies in our next chapter. Mosques and interfaith dialogue. At the same time, the establishment and operation of mosques in Western contexts has not been without challenges. Questions of architectural compatibility, zoning regulations, and community acceptance have sparked debates in town halls and courtrooms. Issues of religious expression, integration, and cultural accommodation have tested the principles of religious freedom and pluralism that Western democracies hold dear. Salt Lake City, 2015. A Mormon bishop and a Muslim imam walk into a synagogue, and no, this isn't a joke. They're launching a food bank together. This is interfaith dialogue in action. From the Vatican's collaboration with Al-Azhar scholars to Minnesota mosques hosting Know Your Muslim Neighbor dinners. These efforts are rewriting narratives. The UK's Visit My Mosque Day alone draws 50,000 non-Muslims annually. But here's the catch: real dialogue requires honesty. When a Michigan mosque invited critics to air grievances over coffee, tensions dropped by 70%. Proof that courage dissolves fear, but not all stories of mosque engagement end so positively. Sometimes, the backlash turns political. Political controversies, minarets, zoning laws, and opposition. We will examine how these institutions have adapted to new cultural contexts while maintaining their core religious functions. We will investigate their contributions to social cohesion, their role in preserving cultural identity, and their function as bridges between Muslim communities and broader society. We will also address the challenges they face, from practical concerns about funding and governance to broader questions about belonging and acceptance in pluralistic societies. What does a minaret symbolize? For many Muslims, it's a call to spiritual awakening. But in 2009, Switzerland voted to ban them, not for safety reasons, but because they were deemed too visible. Let that sink in. This wasn't about noise or traffic, it was about identity. Across the West, mosques have become lightning rods for deeper anxieties. Take New York's so-called Ground Zero Mosque, actually a community center 2 blocks away. Opponents framed it as the victory monument for 9/11, despite its interfaith design. The truth? Zoning battles often mask cultural fears. In France, 36% of mosque applications are rejected, compared to 5% for churches. Why? One mayor admitted, it's about preserving our landscape. But whose landscape? And when opposition turns into surveillance, the stakes get even higher. Security and surveillance, mosques under scrutiny. In 2014, a California imam noticed something odd. His sermons on patience kept triggering FBI visits. Turns out, an algorithm flagged the Arabic word sabr, patience, as saber, Spanish for weapon. Absurd? Yes. Isolated? Hardly. Post 9/11, the U.S. surveilled 90% of major mosques, ACLU report. The UK's prevent strategy required teachers to report extremist kids, like the 4-year-old who drew a cooker bomb, meaning cucumber in Arabic. Does this work? Data says no. A 2020 study found communities under surveillance report less trust in law enforcement. As one Detroit imam put it, they watch us pray while white supremacists radicalize online, yet within these same mosques, another quiet revolution is brewing, led by women. Women in mosques, access and leadership. In 2018, a woman stood at the pulpit of a Paris mosque. Not in the back room. Not behind a curtain. At the front. The backlash was instant. Innovation, critics cried. But here's the irony: early Islamic history records female scholars like Aisha, who taught law to men. Today, from Copenhagen to California, women are reclaiming space. The Women's Mosque of America, founded in 2015, hosts female-led Jummas. Even traditional mosques are adapting. Toronto's Jamia Riot Jannah removed partitions after girls protested, "We want to see the imam." But progress is uneven. In some communities, women still enter through alley doors. The question isn't just about rights, it's about redefining what's sacred. Speaking of redefining, let's tackle the elephant in the room: do mosques really breed extremism? Mosques and radicalization, fact versus fiction. Here's a number that changes everything: 0.3%. That's the fraction of U.S. terror plots linked to mosques, University of North Carolina study. Yet pop culture paints them as incubators. Reality? Mosques are often antidotes. Take Denver's Court to Community program, where imams mentor ex-convicts, slashing recidivism by 60%. Or Britain's Mosques Against Extremism initiative, which de-radicalized 150 youth in 3 years. Radicalization today happens in dark web corners, not prayer halls. As security expert Mark Sageman puts it, terrorists don't radicalize in mosques, they get kicked out of them. Now, let's step back and admire the artistry of these spaces themselves. Architectural evolution, blending tradition with Western aesthetics. Close your eyes. Hear the crunch of snow underfoot as you approach Cambridge's Eco-Mosque. No domes. No minarets. Just golden light filtering through geometric oak beams, sourced from sustainable British forests. This is 21st century Islamic architecture, eco-friendly, minimalist, yet deeply spiritual. Contrast this with Rome's Grand Mosque, where Italian marble meets Ottoman mosaics, a gift from Saudi Arabia to 12,000 local Muslims. Architects now blend tradition with context. Sweden's Invisible Mosque. Designed like a Viking longhouse. Because faith isn't frozen in time, it breathes with its surroundings. But who funds these architectural marvels? The answer reveals global power plays. Funding and foreign influence. Who pays the bills? Follow the money. In 2018, Germany discovered 1,000 mosques were funded by Turkey's Diyanet, with imams on Ankara's payroll. France responded by capping foreign donations at €10,000. But here's the twist: Gulf-funded mosques often promote ultra-conservatism, while locally funded ones adapt. Detroit's mosques run bake sales for repairs. Qatar built London's £20 million Regent's Park Mosque. Transparency is key. As one British MP warned, when Saudi funds 90% of our mosques, who's really writing the sermons? Yet grassroots efforts are pushing back. The Buy a Brick campaign in Birmingham let locals literally build their own house of worship, £1 at a time, but funding isn't the only divide, location changes everything. Mosques in rural versus urban settings, two worlds, one faith. Picture 2 Fridays. In downtown Toronto, the Islamic Center buzzes with 5,000 worshippers streaming into a $20 million complex. Meanwhile, 200 miles north, a converted farmhouse in Thunder Bay creaks as 30 Muslims huddle around a space heater, their mosque for the past decade. Rural mosques face invisible struggles: no full-time imams, drive-through halal butcheries, and youth leaving for cities. Yet they're lifelines. When a Somali family arrived in Norway's Arctic Circle, locals resisted, until the mosque hosted a reindeer and samosa potluck. Urban mosques. They battle different demons, gentrification pushing them to industrial zones, like London's Mosque Mile, in warehouses. But whether log cabin or high-rise, the mission stays the same: keep the light on for whoever knocks, which raises a vital question: as society changes, can mosques keep up? The future of mosques, trends and predictions. Meet Amir, a 24-year-old in Berlin. He prays at home via Zoom Mosque, donates to eco-Islamic startups, and thinks institutional religion is too rigid. He's not alone. Pew Research shows 40% of young Western Muslims rarely attend mosques, but 80% still identify as deeply spiritual. Mosques are adapting: VR wudu tutorials, TikTok-friendly imams, at Imam Says What has 2M followers, and pop-up mosques at music festivals. The challenge? Balancing tradition with innovation. A Scottish mosque now offers silent Jummah with wireless headphones, perfect for neurodivergent worshippers. The future isn't abandonment, it's reinvention. As one Gen Z Muslim told me, I don't need a dome to feel God. But I do need Wi-Fi. Some mosques aren't just adapting, they're making history. Case studies: notable Western mosques. 1944, Nazi-occupied Paris, the Grand Mosque's rector secretly issues Muslim IDs to Jews, saving hundreds. Fast forward to 2020, the same mosque vaccinates 12,000 people, no questions asked. These aren't just buildings, they're heroes with minarets. Washington, D.C.'s Islamic Center, funded by Eisenhower after he saw diplomats praying in garages, became America's symbolic embassy mosque. East London Mosque. It runs the UK's largest homeless shelter, and a boxing gym to deter gang recruitment. Each tells a story, of resistance, of welcome, of refusing to be defined by others' fears. Their walls whisper, "We've been here. We belong." But beyond architecture and policies, it's the people who truly shape these spaces. Personal stories. Voices from Western Muslims. I became Muslim at 17, in a Walmart parking lot. That's Sarah, a blonde Texan who first entered a mosque trembling, only to be hugged by an Iraqi granny calling her, Habibti, my dear. Then there's Imam Khalid, who traded a London law career to counsel drug addicts in Birmingham's backstreets. And Aisha, the Syrian refugee who teaches Arabic to elderly Brits because they smiled at me on the bus. These aren't sound bites, they're lived truths. A 2023 Cambridge study found 74% of Muslims feel mosques are second homes, especially converts and LGBTQ Muslims seeking acceptance. As one teen told researchers, it's where I'm not the other, just me, which brings us to the ultimate question. Conclusion, coexistence or conflict? The choice is ours. We've walked 1,000 years of history, from Cordoba's libraries to Swiss minaret bands, from feminist mosques to underground prayer rooms. The verdict? Mosques are Rorschach tests for societies. See threats, and they'll reflect suspicion. See neighbors, and they'll amplify goodwill. The data is clear, where mosques thrive with communities, not apart, crime drops, Chicago study, 2021, interfaith marriages rise, and isolation fades. But this isn't just about Muslims, it's about all of us. Every zoning battle, every viral sermon, every shared iftar meal writes the next chapter. So I'll leave you with this: the next time you hear the adhan, don't just hear a call to prayer. Hear an invitation to build something better, together. Hit subscribe. Share your story below. And remember, the most beautiful mosques aren't made of stone, they're built of choices. Choose wisely.
And there you have it. We hope you found this information helpful and thought-provoking. Our goal is always to provide you with content that both informs and engages. If you enjoyed this video and found value in it, we'd be incredibly grateful if you could take a moment to hit that like button. Your positive feedback helps our content reach more viewers who might benefit from it. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to stay updated on our latest uploads. We release new videos regularly and would love to have you join us on this journey of discovery and learning. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, take care and stay curious.